There are a number of arguments which hold that pain and suffering is necessary for a greater purpose. An example could be that God tests man by subjecting them to pain and suffering. For this argument to make any sort of sense, there has to be an afterlife without pain and suffering. This argument is infallible. Nothing can prove it false. When you apply logic to this argument, you will find that it doesn't resolve the problem of evil. Let me explain. If God wanted to test us, and God is omnipotent, omniscient, and omnibenevolent, He had the power to provide us with the tests that doesn't involve pain and suffering, but which does the exact same thing. Or else He is by definition not omnipotent. Putting forward an infallible proposition is not compatible with a positivist worldview, because all knowledge has to be testable. Another argument is the devil. This argument removes omnipotence from God right off the bat, but let's look at it anyway. If the devil exists, and he is the opposite of omnibenevolent, then that would explain why there's pain and suffering, at the price of removing omnipotence from God. Logically, this would also remove God as the creator of everything, because the devil would also have had a finger in creating everything. It will also remove the monotheistic worldview, as the devil would have to be considered a god as well. This proposition is also infallible, and thusly it is not compatible with the positivist approach. But it is logically consistent, as long as God and the devil are equal opposites. God isn't omnipotent, and God isn't the first cause. So this argument doesn't provide logical justification for the God that we have outlined in our definition, but it is logically consistent. Based on these arguments and their logical conclusions, we can say that God's omnipotence, omniscience, and omnibenevolence are not logically consistent. Now let's have a look at the problem of poor design. According to our definition, God is omnibenevolent, omnipotent, and the first cause of everything that exists. Everything that exists should then logically exhibit properties similar to God's nature, but when we examine the creation, we find very poor design. It's fact that present-day humans are the results of a long evolution. Evolution works by always doing that which is the easiest, so this leads to errors in present-day humans. Our spines is one example of this. When a structure is to stand upright, like we humans do, it is always best to put the supporting structure in the middle, which is why a tree is always centered around its trunk. Humans, on the other hand, has evolved from animals which walked on all four, and our spine is still designed in very much the same way as a dog's. And since dogs came first, the spines are designed to be horizontal. When humans evolved, it was easier to just use a horizontal spine than to design a vertical spine. That's why our spines are poor design, and that's why so many humans develop back problems. As we humans began to walk upright, many of our vital organs fell from the protective ribcage and into the unprotected stomach. Our liver, for example, is virtually unprotected in humans. When I was a kid, a boy at my school crashed on his bicycle, and the handlebar on his bicycle easily sliced into him and damaged his liver. He died. A dog has all of its vital organs safely protected in the rib cage, so a dog would have a much higher survival probability from a similar accident. There can be mentioned countless examples of poor design. God is the first cause, God is omnipotent, and God is omnibenevolent. This is a contradiction. At this point I have shown many contradictions from the positivist point of view, so logically I would have to defend the positivist point of view. Now once again let me state what the positivist point of view is. The scientific method, logic is universal. The goal of science is to explain and predict. The goal of the logic of confirmation. All knowledge is testable, so sheer belief is out of the question. Science does not equal common sense. Just because a lot of people think that, for example, eating before going swimming decreases safety, it doesn't make it so. Science must produce knowledge regardless of politics, morals, and values. Statements must be true for all times and places. The scientific method consists of 4 logical steps when encountering a problem. This list is a little simplified. The first step is experience. Consider the problem with what is already known. Perhaps the problem has already been solved. If you are unable to find a solution to the problem that has already been postulated, or you find an already postulated solution inadequate, move to step 2. In step 2, we have conjecture. Attempt to put together an explanation for your problem. During step 2, the goal is simply to put together a hypothesis and move to step 3. Prediction. Consider your hypothesis from step 2 and make a prediction that will happen if your hypothesis is true. The last step is experiment. See if your prediction is true. If it is, congratulations, you have now evidence supporting your conjecture, and you have achieved the goal of science, which is to explain a problem and predict its consequences. If your prediction didn't come true, go back to step 2. Using this logical scientific method, humans have developed fantastic achievements in fields such as medicine, agriculture, and engineering. Their direct results here offer a standard of living far beyond that of our ancestors. All knowledge is testable. It is impossible to be absolutely certain that what you know corresponds with reality, but you can use your rational mind to test to see if your knowledge corresponds with everything else that is known. Saying that something is true solely because a lot of people believe it is out of the question. A lot of people believe that God exists, but that doesn't mean that it is true. Seeking knowledge means to use your curiosity, and you should seek knowledge wherever it may lead you. Statements must be true for all times and places. Go back to the scientific method, and if a conjecture and its predictions are proven false by other people in a different time and place, you can say that it's true for you and you alone. Either it's true or it isn't. Knowledge transcends. Using the positivist worldview, scientists have given us so much. Believing in God has given us nothing but false promises and exaggerated claims. God is dead. If you like this video, please subscribe because I plan to make more videos on this subject. Peace out.